Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Kat from Elevate, and welcome to my channel where we talk about healing from toxic relationships and recovering our self-love. Today's topic is going to be recognizing the red flags and spotting toxic people. So some of you have asked questions about how do I know if it was a toxic person or it was a toxic relationship? So we're going to delve into that topic today. But before I do, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already by pressing the bell icon. And if you do enjoy this video, please like and share with your friends. I would really appreciate this message getting out to more people. So talking about toxic people, there are some very important and key factors that always come up again and again. It's very consistent that you're going to see certain characteristics with this type of person and these type of relationships. So these are going to be like roller coaster relationships, and you're going to feel like you're on a roller coaster, that you're not stable, that you're not safe. And I've talked about that piece before, that you're not going to feel comfortable. It's always going to feel like something's off, or you are just sensing that there's something wrong. So I would say that number one thing that we need to remember is if our gut says that something's wrong, if our instinct and our intuition says something's wrong, then probably something's wrong and that person is not okay for whatever reason. There can be a lot of reasons why people are toxic. They could have grown up in an environment that was toxic and they took those things on in their behavior. They learned that behavior as a child. It could be that they are mentally ill and they're not medicated. It could be that they're just a jerk. They're not from an ethics and a moral standpoint. The person just doesn't make good decisions. They're not a good person. So it could be any of those things, and all of those things will cause toxicity to come onto you if you get into a relationship or you're interacting with this type of person. People that are abusers, they are just not seeing, they just don't see things the same way. So they have their own set of ethics that don't match up necessarily with yours or what mainstream would consider good behavior. So essentially there's just like a mismatch of ethics and morality. So you need to remove that person from your life. You're not going to change that person. This person's not going to magically change. That's something we all have to understand. These people are who they are. They're always going to be who they are. The way that they make choices, they base those choices on their own perception, their own logic, and that may not have anything to do with what we consider right and wrong. So we have to accept kind of that they're not going to change. So getting back to spotting these people so that you can be more careful. Again, I mentioned your intuition. That's like your number one indicator that something's off. And I would tread very carefully with these types of people if you start to feel an uncomfortability. So that's number one. Number two is you're going to have the love bombing phase where they're going to be really about you. So they're going to seem like, if they're a friend, they're going to seem like they're just your best friend, and they can't get enough time spent with you. They love talking to you. They're complimentary towards you. Same thing with your romantic relationships. You'll see that this person is nearly obsessed with you. They put you on a pedestal. They hold you in high regard. They're telling you that you're so great, you're so amazing, and you love this. I mean, obviously anyone would love this, right? Like this is what we all think, that if someone's finally appreciating us, let's say, and and we're feeling so flattered and we're feeling, wow, like this person sees all the good in me, because we know there's good in ourselves, but it's nice to see that reflected in the outside world. And when we have people that are validating that, I guess you could say, then we feel like, wow, I feel validated. This, what I thought about myself is now also being validated by people outside. So this becomes a bit intoxicating, and it actually does affect your the chemicals in your body and your brain. So there is like a piece of this love bombing that essentially becomes like related to dopamine, related to oxytocin, even like bonding. And I think we do get attached to people that we feel, at the beginning, we might feel like we can trust and we can be safe with these people because they're love bombing us and making us feel they're trying to make us feel very comfortable in many different ways. They might be not just speaking these words of love and admiration, but they may be doing actions. They may be following through. I know in my situations with toxic people in the past few years, they were following through with actions. They were doing things for me that were kind and considerate. They were like, acting like a great friend, a great boyfriend for much of the time. But in retrospect now, I knew I should have trusted my gut that this wasn't, let's say, genuine. It was disingenuous, and it was all a game. Especially in this recent year, my experience was all a game for this person to boost their ego. You know, in going through and thinking through everything, unfortunately, I had to get to a place of acceptance, as you will have to get to, which is that this person didn't actually care about you. They cared about how you made them feel when you reflected back all that admiration and all that love to them. So essentially, this whole thing just revolved around them. It's like they were going to compliment you, then you were going to come back at them with all the compliments and the love that they were putting towards you, if you also thought they were great. And that's the piece that they really wanted. They didn't care about you. They didn't really admire you. They had no regard for you at all. Like, these toxic people, you're like a piece of garbage on the floor to these people. Unfortunately, but true. You know, they don't care. It's like they just want to use you so that they could get the ego boost of you wanting them. And once they get the ego boost of you wanting them, that boost and that interaction, that's them using you. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to feel good about themselves. So essentially, they'll come at you and make you feel like you're amazing. And you might be amazing. I know I'm amazing. And I know that I've still had people do this to me. So luckily, I have a lot of great friends and family who validate for me also, and I validate myself that I am amazing, that I am a great person, that I am a great friend, and I was a great girlfriend to certain toxic people. So the fact that they didn't see that, the toxic people didn't see that I was a great person or appreciate me for who I am, or even think I was worthy of respect and I was worthy of decency or not being abused. Just because they didn't see that doesn't mean it's not true. And it doesn't mean it's not true for you. So I hope you'll understand that these people will turn the love bombing around so that you are essentially boosting their ego. But that doesn't change the fact that you might be a really great person and you might be a really genuine person and someone who actually cares about them. It's just that they don't care about you. It's all just a sort of game based upon ego, based upon control, based upon power. They don't actually care about you as a person. If they did, they wouldn't actually go ahead and disrespect you. You know, like, we'll go into more detail about the characteristics of what they do that they wouldn't do if they did care about you. And so the next thing would be like, giving you the silent treatment. So a lot of times toxic people will use stonewalling as a tactic, and it's a very manipulative tactic. It's hurtful, and they want it to be hurtful because they feel like if they stonewall you, they're in control. And control is pretty much the number one thing that toxic people want to have. They don't care about much else other than their own ego, and the control piece helps them to feed their ego, makes them feel good. So if they can be in control, then they're happy. And if they don't talk to you, they're in control, right? So, it's one of those things where they don't actually have to say anything to hurt you, to be disrespectful, to give you pain. They will cut off contact. And when you text them, they don't answer. They don't want to actually resolve anything because that's not them being in control. So they'll just not speak to you. Or maybe they'll do what someone did to me, at the beginning of the year, which was not speak to me. Then when I would try to make peace, this person ultimately responded, and then I responded, and then they didn't respond again. And then they kept kind of like playing these games of like that. It was that kind of a scenario until I had to just give up and say, this person is just not well. It's not right to not respond to people. It's not right to stonewall people. And it's a very childish way to deal with things. At this point in life, adults should be able to talk. They should be able to have a conversation in person, preferably, or on the phone, not texting. And it should be where people are able to see each other's point of view. They're able to like hash it out. But you're going to see toxic people can't handle that. That's way too much for them to handle. They would rather just control you by not speaking to you because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with your feelings. They don't want to deal with, like this one guy said to me, you're bringing negativity. I don't like something like, stop bringing negativity on me. And the truth is, I was not bringing any negativity on him. I was just holding him accountable for the negativity he was pushing on me. The disrespect, the stonewalling, the name calling, the whole like twist of I really need you in my life versus I'm going to completely drop you for absolutely no real valid reason. That was what I was trying to sort out. So by me trying to hold the person accountable, they said I was bringing negativity on them. They don't realize it's the opposite. They're the ones that are disrespecting. They're the ones that are wrong. They're not being caring. They're not being kind. They're not being thoughtful, considerate, loving towards me. And when I'm questioning it and saying like, why are you doing this? Then they're saying you're negative. So you're going to see that that's another trait of toxic people is like they turn everything around on you. They are going to make you the wrong person. Like you're wrong all the time. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter because they're going to turn it around because in their mind, they don't see things normal. They don't see things like healthy minded people see it. They all they see pretty much is how they got affected. So they're not actually thinking about your feelings. They're not thinking, oh, I shouldn't have called her that name. That was mean. All they're thinking about is she made me feel bad because she was upset that I called her that name. And now she's bringing negativity on me and I'm upset. And they don't want to face that. This goes deep into like, people like this, they can't face shame because of the way they grew up. They will not face things. They won't face it. They can't because they are not like psychologically ready or mature enough to do it. And that's another piece of people that are toxic. They can't face shame. So they'll never take accountability. Accountability is a huge indicator. If you date someone or you're thinking of dating someone who's not taking accountability, that's someone you need to run away from. There's no relationship that's ever going to be healthy without someone who takes accountability for their mistakes. And that's both sides. You should be taking accountability for your mistakes and they have to take accountability for theirs. But if they don't take accountability for theirs and they're always turning it around on you, just run. Just run because it's never going to get better. You can't have someone who's got that kind of mentality who thinks that's okay. You can't have a healthy relationship with that partner. It's never happening. That person would have to grow and change to understand their piece in things and not keep turning it back around to you. And that would take a lot of growth and that would take a lot of maturity and it would take a complete mindset change. And you're not probably going to be able to like help that person do that. They have to want to do it for themselves. Like all these people that have to heal their toxicity, they have to do it for themselves. We're not going to change them. They're not going to change, and they're not going to change for us, and they're not going to change for the next person either. Maybe one day they'll change, but it's not going to be technically for the next person. It's just going to be coincidentally with the next person, or the next person, or maybe they'll never change. I mean, statistically, they're probably never going to change. But that's something to look out for, the accountability, the lack of accountability. Inconsistency in general, I've talked about this too. Like, people that are healthy and safe people, safe friends, safe people that you can trust, people that are emotionally healthy, they are consistent. If they say one thing, like, I'll be at your house at 7, they're going to be at your house at 7. And you'll notice, like, with toxic people, it'll be like, they're texting you at like almost 7, and they're saying, I'm not going to be there till like 8:45 because this happened and that happened, and I got to deal with this and something. Like, it's weird. It's like, can't you just stick to, like, you're going to feel frustrated with these people, or, other inconsistencies. Like, in general, they may be really good to you and really caring and really loving, and then all of a sudden the next day they don't speak to you, or they act like they're upset and you're not sure why, and when you ask them why, they don't tell you why. They won't talk to you. So again, similar thing, like stonewalling, withdrawing. People that are like dismissive avoidance a lot of times will do this. That's why dismissive avoidance are not going to be able to have successful, healthy relationships, because you can't withdraw, because relationships don't work that way. Relationships, like in the word relationships, is relate. Relate means together. Two things together, relate. It's in the definition of relate and relationship. So if you're not willing to relate, if you withdraw or you stonewall, doing the silent treatment, and you run from your partner, you're not having a healthy relationship. You will have no relationship. You will not be able to maintain a healthy relationship. That's going to be toxic. It's going to be a toxic relationship. Then there's projection. Projection is a doozy, because people that do projection, like I just had that happen with that friendship scenario, with this bipolar person that I've talked about before on the channel. And that person said to me, I need you. I can't lose you from my life. And I thought that was a compliment to me. I thought, oh, wow, like this person really needs me in their life. And I really wanted this person in my life as well. So I took that as a compliment when they said, I need you. I can't lose you from my life. And then like a month or maybe a little bit more than that after, they told me I was needy. So you can see that's projection. This person was telling me they needed me, and then later on they told me I was needy. And I'm not a needy person. I'm a healthy-minded person, and I do believe that my needs are valid, that it's okay to have emotional needs. It's okay to have needs within a friendship, within a relationship, within any kind of relating between people. It's okay to have expectations and needs that are at a normal, healthy level. Obviously if someone goes one way or the other to an extreme, that's a problem. But, projection is when someone is one way, but they're calling you that. So I'm sure you've had situations where someone did something along those lines, and that's just one example of something that happened to me recently that was like such like complete projection. It was like I literally in my mind said, oh my God, this is projection. Like it's happening right now. I recognize this. So that was an example of projection. And gaslighting is another one. Gaslighting is, where someone sort of downplays your feelings. They might completely invalidate your feelings, like, and your reality. Or they might just kind of slowly dismiss your feelings until you question your own reality. So it's when someone is making you question your own reality. And it's kind of insidious. Gaslighting is very insidious because gaslighting is making you wonder what was real and what was not real. And it's hard to be able to discern that once you get to a certain point with this toxic person, because they're literally playing with your mind. And you, at the same time, want to believe the best in them, want to trust them, want to feel like you can. And yet they're playing with your mind on a probably pretty regular basis at that point. And you're getting all of these things mixed in, all of these tactics, all of these red flags. And you start to wonder, like, you know, was I being too sensitive? Maybe you say, what, was I being needy? Like going back to the needy example, you might, you know, maybe he's right because, and you start to kind of make excuses for this person who's probably abusing you psychologically, emotionally, cognitively. And we all do that because we care about the person and we don't want them to be a bad person. We don't want them to be someone who doesn't care, and someone who, I guess, we want to go back to that love bombing, right? We want to believe what they told us in the beginning is how they really feel about us. And that's the hook. Like the hook for everybody with these people is the love bombing beginning, because you think, wow, like I finally found someone who truly appreciates me for who I am. Like I opened up to this person and I was vulnerable and I like trusted them and I was myself and they loved who I was and I love them, or I care about them, and I want them in my life and they want me in their life. And then all of a sudden all this other stuff starts happening and you're like, where's the person that I first met? Where did they go? It's like they're gone. And as they're devaluing you, I mean, that's another piece of the toxic partner. That toxic partner is going to be devaluing you. So little by little, they're going to find faults in you. And this can be, like you can go really deep with the psychological origins of this type of mental mentality, I guess you could say. A lot of these people are so insecure that they're going to devalue you because you're so great. They're going to devalue you on a subconscious level. It's not like they're actually deciding this. It's a subconscious thing. And you'll find this with people like where you might be dating under your league. And let's say you really should be dating at another level, but you've lowered your standards for this person that you're dating, and now they're going to start to devalue you. That's the irony of it. That's the irony of it, because these toxic people have so much insecurity. They can't like truly appreciate you because of what we discussed before, the psychological issues within them. And a big part of that, especially with narcissists, is an insecurity that is so deep, and the lack of ability to face shame. So they're jealous. There's like an envy inside. And when you are, let's say, successful or beautiful or smart or whatever you are, that's great. Then you're going to run into people who are envious and jealous, and they'll tear you down, or they'll think bad about you, or they literally will make things up because in their mind, they can't handle it. They can't handle that you're better than them in their mind. You are not thinking that you're better. You are thinking like we're friends or we're lovers, and like I really love spending time with this person. But they're thinking in their mind, she thinks she's better than me, or they might not even consciously think that. It's just it could be just completely subconscious that they just feel so low about their place in life, what they've achieved, what they haven't achieved, and that you've achieved so much. So like somebody like me who's like an overachiever, it's very hard because there are people that want to tear me down just for that, just because of that. And I can usually like weed out those people, and I don't spend time with those people because I can feel it and I can see it. But sometimes, um, these people do get in, and then I will trust them, and then I see what's happening. So there's like a level of envy with toxic people. They're never satisfied. They're never appreciating you for who you are. They're just really looking to use you for whatever they can, whether that be money, whether that be your expertise, your time, could be physically using you for, whatever, just to get you in bed. Um, there's a lot of different things that they'll use you for. They'll use you for the ego boost. They just want you to want them, even though they don't really want you. That's another way that they're just using you. And it's sad because, you at the end of the day, you wonder like, why? Like, what was the point of this? It was so pointless and it was so hurtful. Why did this person need to do this? But that's what toxic people do. They don't know anything different. They don't know how to have a healthy, normal, reciprocal relationship or friendship or whatever. They only know their toxic behavior ways and their toxic mentality, and they don't know anything else. So it's just like the way they are. And all we can do as people is we can get out of their way. We can just exit the situation. We can try to move on, let go, cut ties, and not in a way of, like, say, stonewalling, but to wrap it up nice and say to them, I just don't think we're on the same page, or I even just to maybe just be cordial. If you're friends, maybe you just like back off the friendship and you just sort of make peace with the person, but you're not best friends, something like that. Or you can cut off completely if the person's really abusive, like calling you names and saying abusive things to you, abusive comments, or of course if anyone's ever gets abusive physically with you, you want to cut that person off and just end it. I would say something if the person wasn't physically abusive. I would probably say something just to end it. If they're physically abusive, you do what you think is right, and you don't necessarily have to say anything to the person. But it's not, you're not doing that cutting contact as a stonewalling, controlling, manipulative tactic. You're doing it to get out. And that's a completely different thing than the other way. Like the other way around is like a toxic person is stonewalling you because they want to control the situation, because they don't want to give up any control by having a conversation with you, because that would give you control, because then you're able to go back and forth and talk back and forth. They don't want that. They rather hold on to the control for themselves until they decide they're ready to give it up, and actually they come to you because they want something, or they want to use you for something else, or they just exit completely and they still hold on to that stonewalling and not speaking to you. So I hope that you have been helped by this video, some basics about what toxic people are and some red flags. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And again, subscribe to my channel. Share this video with anybody who you know would need to look out for some toxic people and have an understanding of what to look out for.